All right, guys, welcome to the live call tonight. If you're just tuning in or you're listening to the replay, I recommend fast forwarding until some questions start rolling in about quitting nicotine, cannabis, adult media content. Basically, what I do when I go live is I wait for people to come in and then I take questions about quitting these different substances. So we'll see who comes through. Again, if you're listening to the replay or the podcast of this, just scroll on by until you get to a point where I'm answering questions because otherwise you're going to be pretty bored. And usually these streams go for a while. What's up, Dion? How are you doing? All right, guys. So, like last week when we did a live Hello Clash, if you guys have questions for me, start to rapid fire them. Quitting nicotine, cannabis, other substances, and then tonight we'll dive into that conversation for you guys. But remember, if you don't have questions for me, then I'm not going to be answering stuff. What would you say to someone who quit smoking cigarettes and vaping nicotine, but using nicotine pouches daily? Great questions. So I think it depends on the person's reason why they quit cigarettes and why they quit vaping. If their goal of quitting cigarettes and quitting vaping was for an improvement of physical health, and if switching to nicotine pouches improved their physical health, and that was their only goal, then I would say, okay, that works. I would also say, in regard to nicotine pouches, you are getting significant harm reduction. I mean, like literally 90% less harmful than cigarettes. It's not risk free, but significantly less harmful. Now, I think you have to ask yourself, has switching to pouches accomplished what you were hoping to accomplish by quitting vaping and quitting smoking cigarettes? If your only goal was improved physical health and you're not concerned with necessarily, freedom from the substance, then you've accomplished that and it's awesome. So, I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I think it just depends on what the person is trying to accomplish. But I will say this is certainly a form of harm reduction to smoking and vaping, right? That's why I don't bash nicotine pouches as heavily as I do vaping and cigarette products, just because the harm is less. Still can cause a lot of problems, right? I've seen people get TMJ. I've seen people get, right, pain in the jaw. I've seen people get really bad anxiety from nicotine pouches. I've really seen them screw with people's mental health, acid reflux, stomach problems. Of course, you can develop oral lesions. So they're not risk free, okay? 8 days sober. Congratulations. Yeah, of course, TVL. Happy to help you quit weed. Happy to help. All right, let's see here. 39 years old, been smoking since 18, grew up as an orphan, been through traumatic life experiences. Okay, John Doe. So, I mean, okay, so you came from a traumatic background. I think I'd have to ask, why are you smoking weed? Are you saying that you smoke weed because of the traumatic background? And if so, I want you to explain to me how weed has aided in helping you with that trauma, managing that trauma. That would be my first question for you. Until I know that, I can't really, I can't help you too much. Otherwise, I'd just be giving you random input. Um, would you ever touch on other addictions like opioids and perhaps cocaine or fentanyl and how to overcome them? So it's really not my space, right? I focus on substances that I struggled with. That's cannabis, nicotine, stimulants, okay, and adult media content, and then binge drinking. Now, with that being said, I did abuse stimulants for a very, very long time, and I had a stint with abusing Ritalin and Adderall. I don't talk about it a lot on my channel, but I did. So it just to be honest, it doesn't interest me as much. And aside from the how to quit, going cold turkey versus tapering, aside from that information, if you watch my videos and you just take the word weed or nicotine and you plug it in with opioid or cocaine or fentanyl or whatever it is, a lot of the mindset stuff is still going to apply, right? Like I'm currently working with a client right now, and this person is working on um, substance use involving Prozac, prescription amphetamines, cannabis, and what was the other one? I think that's it, right? So I do work with people on that stuff. I do help people with that stuff, but my main focus is nicotine, THC, stimulants, adult media content, right? So Yeah, that's all. There's plenty of other people who cover fentanyl and those drugs. I quit drinking 4 years and smoking 2 years. Why is quitting caffeine tougher than both of those? Should I keep my caffeine addiction? Richard, it's up to you. Right? I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with having an addiction in general, if I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm very much an addicted person. Why am I on YouTube at 11:30 at night helping people quit substances, right? I'm addicted to helping people stop. It makes me feel good and I love doing this YouTube stuff. So I think it just depends on caffeine, right? Like, is caffeine causing a problem in your life, or are you just quitting caffeine for the sake of quitting caffeine, right? I didn't stop anything just for the sake of being sober. I stopped because stopping those substances was a stepping stone to improving my business, to improving my physical health, to improving my relationships, right? If caffeine isn't holding you back, then what's the problem? That's what I would say to you. But now if it's causing you problems, okay. Now I could talk about caffeine though, and I could talk about the problems it can cause, right? Especially with regard to sleep. I don't like messing with really anything that messes with my sleep too much. So that'd be my only comment on caffeine at the moment. Um, so Okay, let's hear. Rachel, I really appreciate the time you take to explain this for the better. I was wondering with the person who's trying to change with my impulsive behavior, how can they get started with quitting weed? So realistically, you get started with quitting weed by making a commitment to yourself to quit. And you practice discipline in that commitment. And that's how you're going to improve your impulsive behavior, right? People all the time, it's like, how do I fix my impulsive behavior? How do I strengthen discipline? How do I strengthen willpower? Which you don't need really any of those things to quit a drug, to be honest. But you strengthen those things by doing something that requires discipline, requires willpower, requires impulse control, and you practice doing that over and over again until you get better at it. My start to that journey of those character traits was quitting substances. Now, it's particularly hard because when you're smoking weed, it damages impulse control. When you drink alcohol, it damages impulse control. So a lot of people come to me that I work with and they're like, Dr. Frank, but I struggle with impulse control. And I'm like, I know that's because you have a drug in your body, right? Like your starting point is already from like a challenging place because you literally have a drug that damages impulse control and quitting a substance is trying to control impulses. So that's the first thing, Rachel. Okay. Now, the second thing I'd say on quitting weed, if impulse control is a problem for you, maybe start with something simpler. Maybe you spend money, shopping, right? I have a client right now that I'm working with, and we're working on an online shopping, addiction, and we're also talking about cannabis substance use, right? And sometimes when I'm working with people, I may not start with addressing cannabis. In this person's case, I'm starting with cannabis, but maybe there's some other lifestyle factor where you could exercise impulse control. You could get a win in that. So maybe this person could stop online shopping first, start to feel comfortable about their impulse control, and then we could take that momentum and apply it to quitting cannabis. Now, in their case, I'm having them stop cannabis first, and then we're going to work on the shopping thing. But it just makes more sense for that client. Now, my other piece of it, so you could stack small wins that require impulse control and then carry those small wins into quitting weed. Or, depending on the person, I don't know you, you could quit weed first if that's what's really damaging your impulse control, stack that as a win, and then apply that impulse control to other aspects of your life, your nutrition, your fitness, your business growth and development, your career, your parenting, whatever it is you're dealing with. Now, first step also to quitting weed is calling out the perceived value that you get from using that substance, right? So, right, weed makes me a better parent. Weed makes me more present. Weed is helping me cope with the stress of running a business, whatever perceived value the person has. We have to identify what that perceived value is. And then we have to ask ourselves, why do I want to quit weed? And the person says, it's really stressing me out. It's really ruining my health. I'm over 30, 40 years old, and I can really feel the physical side effects. I'll say to the person, well, that's interesting. Aren't you stressed from the physical side effects of smoking? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but smoking's helping you relieve stress? Because that's what you told me a few minutes ago. That doesn't make sense, right? Wouldn't you be able to perform better as a parent, perform better in your business, perform better in your, just general life if you were healthier? Like, wouldn't you be less stressed if you were physically healthier and sleeping better? Most of the time, the answer is yes, right? So, loaded question that you asked me there. Okay, 2 weeks out of vaping, and right now I'm getting a lot of urge to vape. What can I do? Asher, the first thing you have to do is identify that it's not you that's craving the vape. Let's call it that addicted voice that's craving the vape. Asher, you quit 2 weeks ago for a reason. What were the reasons why you quit? What did you want to attain? Better physical health, better mental health, more money in your bank account, right? Look at the reasons why you quit and then realize that's what you actually crave in life. So instead of acting on a craving for a substance, something that you don't even care to be doing anymore, go take actions towards the things that you are actually craving in life. Most people, it's going to be related to health, wealth, relationships. That's most people. It's going to be in those categories. Okay, that's why most people quit substances. It might be, there might be a spiritual component to it. Maybe there's a social component to it, but most people, health, wealth, relationships. Maybe I'll say, more happiness, but happiness is a tricky one. So I hope that helps you out. Okay. That's what you should do. Now, also, Asher, just on a simple note, keep busy, right? Like, something that I did when I quit substances was I realized I like listening to music and I like cleaning. I like putting on headphones like these. I put on, Chill Step 2025, Kygo Radio or whatever, 2024 Summer Chill House. I'll put that on and then I'll just go clean. That's how I decompress at night. I clean, I listen to music, and I chill out, and I still had energy to burn. So now I'm on this live call. So here we are. Okay. I have such an unreal amount of energy since quitting all those things: nicotine, caffeine, alcohol, cannabis. I never fathomed I would have the energy that I have. I was taking Adderall, Prozac, and Depakote, okay, at 3 years old. Yeah, I understand, John. So keep going with that. I see Escort Weekly. My mom had a mental handicap. I hate myself. I pay for adult media content to feel alive again. John, here's the thing. There's a lot going on here, John, and this is what I'm going to tell you. I don't know what position you're in, and this wouldn't be appropriate to like handle all this on a live call. But I can tell you, John, I've worked with several people that are struggling with a lot of the same stuff, right? Right? They got maybe a psychiatric medication. They have cannabis, right? We have some type of adult media content, substance use going on, or right behavior. This is nothing out of my wheelhouse. And if you check out the link in the video description after this live, right now there's a wait list for our one-on-one coaching. But I'd be happy to talk to you more in depth there because I think I'd be able to help you more than giving you random advice. Here's the thing, man. Do you hate yourself or do you hate that addicted voice? You have to start separating yourself from those behaviors, because you saying you hate yourself means, I hate the decisions that I'm making and I hate myself because I can't change. And I very much disagree with that, John Doe. I think you could very much change. You just have to start to separate yourself from those behaviors. Maybe that's not you, right? Maybe that's not you behaving that way. Maybe that's that addicted voice, or maybe that's something else. And as stupid as that sounds, creating separation from those behaviors kind of puts us back in control again, right? Because if you're John, just internally flawed for the rest of your life because of your upbringing, and this is how it's going to be, then yeah, you're going to hate yourself and you're going to feel like you're screwed. But like, this is not abnormal to be in the position you're in, right? A lot of people, I was once people, right? Like, they lose faith in themselves to a large extent, right? I've lost faith in myself to change, and therefore I hate myself. I've told myself 1,000 times I'm going to stop seeing an escort. I'm going to stop watching porn. I'm going to stop smoking weed. And I failed again and again and again. And now my confidence is lower and lower and lower, and I'm watching my relationships degrade. I'm watching my business degrade. I'm watching my family connection degrade. And I hate myself. A lot of people wind up in this position, my friend. And the crazy thing is there's no need to, right? Maintaining an addiction takes an incredible amount of grit, financial resources. It actually takes delayed gratification. There's if you hate yourself and the things you're doing right now, what is it that you want to be doing, John? What is it that you actually crave to be doing in life, right? Um, uh, you know, this is I lost my train of thought. Okay, I'm trying to tell you too much in one simple conversation. Okay, um, someone's beating their meat to death. Okay. Oh no, not meat. Okay, I see. I'm getting lost in the conversation here. All right. When I wake up, first thing I want is this pouch, or else I feel like shit and I can't do anything the whole day. Yeah, I mean, Clash. Yeah, again. So we were talking about using pouches to quit vaping and smoking earlier. So it's up to you. Is that how you want to live the rest of your life? Do you want to live your life dependent upon pouches? Some people don't care. Some people are happy to be dependent upon nicotine, right? Like if you look at, an example of this would be Tucker Carlson, right? He has his own nicotine brand. He's very open about using nicotine and he says he loves it and he has no intention of quitting. Some people don't care. I cared. I didn't want to live that way. I just wanted to be able to wake up, start my day, feel refreshed, and just go. I didn't want to have to wait to like rely on a substance to kick in to like get going throughout the day. A lot of people don't care though. I cared. So I think it just depends on who you are and what you care about. I'll smoke for a while, quit for a job. I won't smoke for months. Smoking weed on Sunday mornings after breakfast was a routine. Okay, so you're on and off with weed. So you're trying to moderate cannabis consumption, or are you saying you want to stop and you're having trouble going on and off? I'm not sure what you're saying. Um, okay, let's see here. Your channel has been a life changer for me. God bless you. I really appreciate you helping me be sober from marijuana. Of course, anytime. Um, no, he's not trolling. That's not trolling. A lot of people, guys, I don't think people realize like how thank you, Zia. You guys no need for donations. I really appreciate it though. Um like a lot of people struggle with a lot of things, right? If you look at my life, maybe John Doe's sounds more extreme, but it's not very different from what I was struggling with, right? Different substances, different form, but not that different. I was smoking weed every day. I was abusing nicotine and stimulants every day. I was watching adult media content every day. And what did that do? That damaged my social life. It damaged my physical health. It damaged my relationships. It damaged my finances. It damaged my mental health. It damaged my physical health. People will rag on someone and be like, "Oh, it's crazy that you're addicted to, whatever, cocaine or fentanyl. Can't believe you're screwing up your life so much." When when in reality, there's someone drinking alcohol or smoking cannabis that's literally suffering the same side effects of addiction as that person, minus like overdose potential. Which yes, that's a big one, but like cannabis and these other substances are so insidious because they can literally destroy every aspect of a person's life. And yet in society, we view it as, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just weed. I mean, I had doctors tell me that it's not a big deal. It's just weed. You don't really got to worry about it. Well, just weed combined with all that other stuff for me was destroying my life in the same way that someone addicted to cocaine and sex is destroying their life, and the same way that someone who's drinking alcohol every night is destroying their life. Again, minus overdose potential. Okay. So, yeah, crazy stuff. Um, Zizo, I'm not sure what you're asking me. 4 months and I still am craving weed. So here's what I see happen to a lot of people. Okay, they wind up making quitting weed about quitting weed, and I see this a lot when people go through like 12-step programs and rehabs. Life becomes obsessing over the drug and obsessing over just the drug. Okay, Zizo, what I would tell you is, listen, the reason why I don't crave drugs anymore, there's a lot of reasons why. But one of the big ones is because when I put down the drugs, I had a very clear set of things that I expected to accomplish, right? I wanted to pursue my career. I wanted to grow my business. I wanted to improve my physical health. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. Look, when I quit those substances, I I like a freaking pit bull on a hunk of meat. Like I pursued those things like a madman. Like I obsessed over accomplishing those things. Okay. And I went at like a backbreaking speed to get it done. And I continue to. That's why I'm live at 11, 45 at night on a Saturday night, full of energy to talk to you guys. Like, a lot of people will quit substances and they'll have some expectation in quitting, and that expectation won't become a reality over a period of time. And then they're found that they're still craving the drug or the substance. Okay. So it's so important that when you're quitting a substance, you identify what are your expectations, what are your expected outcomes of quitting, and what steps are you going to take to make those things a reality? Because if I had woke up today 9 years later, not getting to where I wanted to in my business, not landing the wife, not having kids, not getting the house that I wanted, not doing the things I wanted to accomplish in life, I'd still be craving drugs. I'd still be thinking about drugs. I had to fill my life with other things. And for me, I was very fortunate that addiction recovery coaching kind of found its way into my life, because it turns out that I'm like super passionate about it. I'm super passionate about YouTube. I mean, if you look at my day to day, I spent 8 hours doing chiropractic care. I probably spent 4 or 5 hours today doing addiction recovery coaching. I came home and spent time, or no, how many hours did I work in my office? 7 till 1. And then I did addiction coaching from about 1 till 4, 1 till 5. Had dinner with my family. We had a lot of stuff to do around the house. And now here I am again, right? When you're passionate about something, like, I don't crave drugs anymore. I crave stuff that I'm passionate about. And so many people don't bridge those gaps when they quit substances. And a lot of that has to do with the way people quit. Like, they'll go work with like a psychiatrist who just gives them more drugs, or they'll go to like a 12-step program. And then now your life revolves around this program, and it revolves around service to others in the program. And then you're giving your time as a sponsor to someone else, for free, when in reality, you should probably be out working, making money, rebuilding your own life. It's just such a disaster that I see happen, that lead people into more substance use. It's bad. Okay. Why is it so hard to stay off it after relapsing? TVL, it's because people believe in the concept of relapse. Okay. I'm no dummy when it comes to the science of the neurochemical changes that happen in addiction. But guess what? These neurochemical changes happen when we do anything, right? If I have sex with my wife, neurochemical changes happen, right? If I go work out, neurochemical changes happen, right? If I eat food, neurochemical changes happen. Okay. Like, literally doing this live call is creating neurochemical changes in my brain. So people will say, "Oh, it's neurochemical changes, it's relapse. I'm out of control. I'm an untamed animal that can't control myself after relapsing." That's not true. TLV, chances are are a smart person who has overcome many things in life. Okay. You are not some untamed person who just spontaneously relapses and then can't get things back under control. Maybe you've been told that. Maybe that's what you've been led to believe, but that is false. And if you're thinking that way, we have to break that mindset. You didn't relapse. You made a logical decision to use that substance again for one reason or another, based on your perceived benefit or pleasure regarding using that substance. Now, you have to backtrack and rework. Why did you make that decision? Why do you continue to make the decision, the choice to keep using the substance? I promise you, it's not because you're some unhinged human being who's incapable of self control. You might be thinking that way. And if you are, that's a mindset problem. It's not a physical problem. Now, the only case where this might be different is someone who has become physically dependent upon alcohol or Xanax or some other medication like that. Now we have a physical dependence and we have to be very careful, and we probably have to taper. In those cases, a person truly did, quote unquote, relapse because they had a physical dependence on the substance, and then they couldn't safely function without it. I stopped weed and started drinking a little bit. It seems like a terrible decision. I regret it. I feel very sad. Smoking was better. Maybe moderation is better. Yeah, I mean, yeah, would I recommend someone trades weed for alcohol? Again, it goes back to, why did you quit cannabis in the first place, right? If it was to improve your physical health, then drinking alcohol isn't going to match your expectations that you had for improving your life with quitting cannabis, right? Alcohol, I think, in some ways could be more dangerous than cannabis. Sure, maybe from a physical health standpoint, I could argue that, right? Alcohol's probably responsible for more violence. right? It can shut down your liver. But on the flip side, with weed, I've seen psychosis, I've seen cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, I've seen someone hit a bad Delta 8 cart and wind up with like what they would think is permanent brain damage. So, like, I've seen bad stuff on both. Um, Here's my thing. So many times people think like, "Oh, I'm not smoking weed. I'll have a few drinks. I'm not drinking, but at least I'll just smoke weed. I'm not doing drinks or weed. I think I'll just watch porn at night. That will be my vice." Stop thinking in terms of vices. Okay? Stop thinking in terms of what could I moderate in place of one substance for another. This mindset is broken. And it's not your fault. Society promotes this, right? Drink alcohol, smoke weed, go spend money frivolously online and shopping, eat junk food. It's your birthday, eat a cake, drink a bunch of alcohol, feel like crap tomorrow, right? Like we're promoted this idea that we have to constantly be trading one dopamine hit for the next. Start to focus on I'm trading weed for working out. I'm trading weed for pursuing my business and growing my business. I'm trading weed for growing a side hustle. I'm trading weed for I don't know, practicing meditation, learning the guitar. Ideally, I tell people to learn a skill that they can monetize. But yeah, I mean, stop thinking in terms of trading one substance for another substance. Okay. I made that mistake all too many times. Moderation is very attainable for lots of people. And but the only place like you're not ready, I would say Google user 10, you're probably not ready to moderate yet, just based on that comment. I don't know you, maybe you are. But just based on the comment, I don't think you're probably there. Moderation requires us to break free of that mindset that is addiction. We have to destroy that. And I think people can safely moderate once they're at a place in life where they could truly take it or leave it, right? I know for a fact I could moderate cannabis if I wanted to. My life has changed in so many incredible ways. I have zero urge to use cannabis. And trust me, I've very recently in my life faced some incredible challenges and have some incredibly hard things coming up in my life. Things that I wish I thought I had a lot more time before I'd have to deal with this. Family getting sick and things like that going on. But you know what? I have zero desire to use substances. None. Zilch. Zero. So I'm also not a moderate person for the record, right? Like I'm not moderate. I'm not moderate in my work. I'm not moderate in my fitness. I'm not moderate in my relationship with my family. I don't like moderation. So like I just tend to focus on things that benefit me because then I can go all in on them and I don't have to feel bad about going all in on them, right? Like so that's kind of where I'm at, right? 5 years following me, MI, that's awesome. I hope it's been working for you. I hope it's been helping you. Um, yeah, you can moderately smoke weed, right? But like, it just depends, right? It just depends on the person. It depends on the mindset, right? I don't know the point in my life where I decided, okay, I could probably moderately smoke weed. But, like, whenever that point came, like I said, I have no desire to. And listen, a lot of people in this live are gonna be, like, early on in quitting, and sometimes thinking to yourself, "Well, maybe one day I could moderately do this." For a lot of people, that's like a comforting thought. For me, I was more comfortable saying, "Okay, I'm done with this, and as long as I'm done with this, I never have to go through all this BS again." That mindset worked better for me, but everyone's gonna be different, what mindset works for them. And remember, just because you want to moderate weed today doesn't mean that you're going to want to moderate weed 20, 30, 60, 70, 90 days from now. I always remind people when I'm working with them, how you feel today about quitting weed day 1, day 0 is going to be very different than how you feel at day 90, day 60, day 120, day 365, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, right? I think so many times when people quit a substance, they get these feelings and emotions and thoughts. And so I really want to moderate, or I really want to do this, or I really want to, just smoke at social events. And it's like, fine, fine. Maybe you can do that one day. But like recognize as you quit, chances are your health, your wealth, your relationships are going to improve. And as those things improve, you may become less and less and less interested in moderation because the reasons why you're looking to moderate right now stress relief, coping, social skills, whatever it is. You feel it helps your business performance because it helps you unwind and be more creative and clear your mind, whatever those perceived benefits are. When you're healthier, wealthier, and more socially connected, chances are you're not going to need to constantly be escaping for a moment of mental clarity. Chances are you're going to have more energy, so you're going to get more done during the day, and in turn, you're going to be less stressed. Is that making sense? Like, does that make sense? So that's the thing on moderation. Let's see here. All right, looks like we got some nice arguments breaking out here. Um, oh, okay. Let's see here. I think I know. It looks like Jack has found us. Yeah, Jack's here. So I've only gotten rid of one person from my. Maybe I'll put Jack in timeout. I've only gotten rid of from one person in my channel, and he's a really interesting individual. He's followed me from day one. I'm not even gonna waste my time talking about him. Okay, now let's get back to people here. All right, let's see. I want to be done with it for good. Yeah, Ted, that guy's name is Jack. He's been messing with me for a long time, many, many, many years. He's been a real headache. Um, all right. Kicking addiction and helped hundreds of dollars. Yeah, man. I mean, it's thousands of dollars people at this point, which is pretty cool. Like, I try and tell people like there's a lot of value in helping other people. And there's a lot of ways you could do that, right? If you're a real estate agent and you're helping people find their dream home, that's a dopamine hit, like helping someone with that. If you're a house cleaner and you clean someone's house and you're giving them a clean home, right? Like there's a dopamine hit, satisfaction. When I coach clients and I help them quit drugs, there's a dopamine hit, right? So again, I think people focus so much on substance use and getting dopamine from substances, they fail to realize all the other areas in their life where they can get it from. Okay, why do I stay sitting on the fence? I want to be a non-smoker. Why don't I just do it? Joanne, I'm not sure. I could figure that out. Honestly, like I'm very good at that. That's what I do. And if you feel that that involves a more in-depth conversation, or you're listening to the podcast or the replay of this, we do have a wait list right now for our one-on-one coaching. We're still taking applications, but like I'm maxed out right now. But I'd be happy to have a more in-depth conversation with you at some point. I think you're on the fence because there's probably some level of fear in quitting, right? Maybe it's fear around what's my life going to be like without this? What's my life going to be like if I'm not doing this? How am I going to manage? And Joanne, I would just tell you a lot of that fear is nothing more than false expectations appearing real, right? I think a lot of that fear is kind of created by that addicted voice, right? No one knows how to manipulate us better than we manipulate ourselves. Um, so that's the thing. Um, yeah. As for ADHD guys, I mean, like, okay, like I'm a very ADHD person. Like you can tell when I'm in my stuff, but I don't even care. Like I don't care. If I'm ADHD, if I'm depressed, if I'm anxious, if I'm happy, I'm sad, like I just don't care. It doesn't matter. Like I just have to figure out how to work with it, right? And look, people come to me all the time. It's like I have ADHD, I have PTSD, I have chronic pain, I have depression, I have stress at my job, I have marital problems and stress. We all have something. We all have a reason that we use substances, okay? And I try and remind people of that. Like you're not alone. Maybe for you it's ADHD, and for someone else it's chronic pain, and for someone else it's managing the stress of their business, and for someone else it's something else, okay? Like we all have reasons that we use substances. Does that change anything though? Like, don't you still want to stop? Don't you still want to improve your quality of life? Like, does it matter that you feel X, Y, and Z way about yourself? For me, the answer was no, because if it mattered, I'd always have an excuse to continually going back to using the substances. Now, that's not to say that there's not reasons or ways that we could mitigate symptoms of ADHD, right? Trying to organize your life better, things like that, right? Meditation, incredible, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Meditation, organize. I was just talking to a guy today, and this was the individual with the shopping addiction and cannabis addiction. And this individual, who knows, maybe they're with us tonight in the live. And they were asking me kind of about clothes. And they were like, I love color coordinating my clothes, and it makes me want to buy all these different color clothes. I said, dude, I've been there before. I get it. But if you look at me now, I wear like black and gray, and that's it. And I literally did that to help control the ADHD. I didn't want to wake up and get hyper focused on what I was wearing every day because it was a waste of my time. I had to be working on my business. I had to be working on my relationships. I had to be working on other things. So I just bought literally a bunch of the exact same clothing, almost the exact same color, and I wear the same thing over and over again. I don't think about my clothing anymore. That's one of the ways that I manage my ADHD, especially early on when you're quitting substances. Balancing, um, like organizing is so important because when you first quit, everything is kind of chaotic. Your brain is trying to figure out how to operate without this substance. So the more you can organize your life, the better off you're going to be. People are like, okay, weed versus Lexapro. And I just keep going back to this. I think it's the wrong question. I think the question is, why are you thinking about consuming weed or Lexapro? Because I'm anxious. Why are you anxious? I don't know why I'm anxious. Well, let's look at the different lifestyle things that you have going on and let's try and address them. Maybe there's a chemical imbalance there. And maybe that chemical imbalance is in dopamine and serotonin and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's in your endocannabinoid system. Maybe not. Maybe it's that you hate your job and you're anxious every day you go to work. And maybe popping Lexapro all day long and getting high is actually just keeping you complacent in a career that you hate. And maybe getting off the drugs, you would feel the anxiety, you would feel the anger. And maybe that would be motivation if properly channeled into getting into a career that you actually enjoy, right? I had all of these emotions when I quit substances. I used them to drive change in my life. I was anxious about my relationships. I was anxious about my finances. I was angry about where my career was at. And it wasn't bad. I just knew that I could be doing 1,000 times better. I didn't want a drug to numb those emotions. I wanted to feel those emotions. Those emotions are what radically changed my life. And it saddens me so much that we are working so hard to suppress emotions that are largely normal things. They are your body's signals of telling you that something is off. The last thing we want to do is numb that completely. I understand sometimes those emotions can get too big, and I don't judge people for using drugs to deal with them. I once did, okay? But it's not the answer. It's not the solution. The solution lies in something much more than just popping a drug, right? And people are like, "Well, that's hard." Well, the hard stuff tends to be the most worth it stuff, right? I could go on and on about this. Meditation is awesome. Um, all right. Let's see here. See if Theodore. Okay. Does weed act on dopamine? Of course it does. So does CBD though, right? Okay. Let's see. How about OCD? OCD, one of my favorite supplements for OCD is one of my favorite supplements for OCD is N-acetylcysteine. I don't have a bottle of my chewing gum here. It's all yeah, there it is. It's down there. Um, my Kick It Crave Less chewing gum, kickitrevolution.com. It's a great supplement for OCD behaviors. If you the chewing gum is so much better than a capsule because it absorbs buccally just like a nicotine pouch would into your bloodstream. When you take an N-acetylcysteine capsule, only like 3 to 4% absorbed. So buccal absorption with a gum is much better and much faster acting. So check that out for the OCD. Can you make a podcast about the difference between THC vape pens and nicotine smoke? Yeah, there's a massive difference between THC vapes and nicotine smoke. Oh, all right. I'm taking a screenshot of that so I remember. I'll get that going for you. Okay. Um, let's see here. Um, all right, they're gone. Okay. I randomly quit again, found your videos last year, quit for a few days, quit for a few weeks ago. Watching your videos helped. Okay. CBD didn't work for me because it caused me more anxiety when I wear it off. Yeah, that happens to some people. Right? That happened, right? Um, how do you weigh good reasons to smoke weed against reasons that weed is a negative effect in your life? I'm 4 days sober after a relapse, post 2 weeks clean. So it's not after a relapse, it's after a decision, a choice that you made to go back to using cannabis. Right. And that doesn't necessarily make you dirty either. Right. I don't think you were clean and now you're dirty. That language, it doesn't, it doesn't make sense to me. But why did you relapse? That's the first question, right? Like, why did you go back? What benefit did you think you were going to get from going back? And then I'll ask you, after going back, choosing to go back to smoking weed, did you in fact get that benefit? If the answer is no, then that positive didn't exist for you. And if you're on my stream, chances are there was a negative outcome of it. So in my case, I'm already looking at you saying, hey, you're here. Chances are the benefits outweighed, the negatives outweighed the benefits. So you probably wouldn't be here. Um, I can't answer that question for you. Like, it's gonna vary person to person, right? Like it's a really loaded question that you're asking me, but these are questions that I ask people and that I talk to people about in our one-on-one programs. Like this is what I do with people for a living, right? It's complicated stuff, but it's really so easy once you figure it out. That's the beautiful thing. Broccoli, you quit weed because of me. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm not ready to moderate. I know if I have access to it, I'll smoke it all. Yeah, like I said, yeah, drinking probably makes you feel worse. And Google user 10, this is one of the worst side effects of addiction. What you said, I don't trust myself anymore, right? I have brilliant people that I meet every day, business owners, parents, grandparents, right? Brilliantly intelligent, smart, beautiful people, and they no longer trust themselves because of what substance use has done to them. This is one of the worst side effects I experienced, right? Your words start to lose value. And when your words lose value, you lose faith in yourself. You can change this today by committing to a decision and sticking to that decision. But quitting cannabis and then picking up alcohol, right? You feel worse. Your goal of quitting weed was to feel better. So obviously jumping into something that makes you feel worse isn't gonna right? It's not worth it. Swapping one thing for another. I swapped drugs for YouTube, business, marriage, having kids, better physical fitness, more faith. That's what I swapped drugs for. And right when we're in drugs, I remember this. I'm not going to smoke weed today, but I'm going to drink a Monster. I'm not going to drink Monster. I'll just take Ritalin. I'm not going to take Ritalin. I'm just going to drink alcohol on the weekends. I'm just going to drink alcohol and smoke a little bit of weed, but I'm only going to smoke the weed on the weekends. Stop thinking about substances. Stop trying to create a balancing act in your body between different chemicals. Your body knows how to run itself. Unless you are very neurocognitively impaired, which a majority of people here won't be. Okay. They're just not. You might have been told you are. Chances are you're not. Your body will eventually regulate if you provide it the environment to do so. But playing this game of trying to create the perfect combination of neurochemicals and substances isn't going to do it. And when I see people hyper focused on this, I already know in my coaching programs that they're neglecting other things in their life because they're so focused on this. And that's where I know, like, hey, wait a minute. What's going on in your business? What's going on in the marriage? What's going on with the kids? What's going on with the physical fitness? What's going on? Maybe it's faith related. Like, and then sure enough, they're like, oh, yeah, it's a fucking disaster. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you're hyper obsessing over creating this perfect balance of drugs because you feel like you're in control of that. You've been doing that for a long time. And quite frankly, it's easier and less stressful for you to focus on that than it is to focus on resolving the things in your life that would actually make a difference and actually improve your quality of life. I see this time and time and time again. Fasting is a great thing. Yeah. Fasting is a great thing. So All right, guys, it's kind of late. I'm gonna have to go. Google user. I hope that that helped you. And yeah, Google user 10. A lot of people that I work with are in a similar case to yours. If if this resonates with you, I really want you to check out that link to our one-on-one coaching program. Like I would be excited to work with you. Just based on our conversation tonight, I know we could make some killer progress together. So, yeah, I hope you fill out an application for our coaching program. Just it's all private. Just leave a comment in there so I know it's Google user or something like that. When you write like how do you feel Dr. Frank could help you? Just say Google user. I'll know what it means. All right, guys. I had a lot of fun. This was a great live, and we'll be talking again soon. Okay. It's not about escaping cannabis. It's what it does for you without being a slave to it. All right, guys. Until next time. How do I end this? End my live. How do I end this? End stream.